Hello viewers, Super GT here. So this is just a very quick guide for the controller settings in Forza 7. So there's not much to it really, just go to options, controller, and here are the basic options. So what I am using is layout 1. I do have vibration on and I have switch, handbrake and clutch. So I have that switched on primarily for manual with clutch, but that will be for another video. What I really want to get to is the advanced settings. So if you press X, you get to this menu. A lot of people have been asking me for my controller settings, and well, here they are. So steering axis dead zone, I'll go through them quickly. So 1 and 100 inside outside, acceleration 1 and 100, deceleration 0 and 100, clutch 0 100, handbrake 0 100, vibration scale 55. So many of you may not know what a dead zone means. Many of you might not have even seen this menu before. Dead zone is basically an area of trigger movement where, or a stick movement where nothing happens. So let's say, for example, I put this up to 20%, the steering axis dead zone on the inside. So basically that means if I went to steer, so I move the left stick, which is what I use to steer, and I only move it, let's say 15% to the left, nothing will happen because the dead zone is set to 20. So you have to move the stick more than 20% before anything will happen. And you can change the outside as well. So you're definitely going to be wanting to put the outsides to 100, because when you're pressing the throttle, say for example, you're going to press it all the way down to the end. Same with the steering, you're going to move the stick all the way to the left or all the way to the right. So it's best to have that on 100, I think. And then for the inside, this really is if you have a bad controller. So if your controller doesn't move back to the middle when you let go of the left stick, then you want this to be a little bit up. So because sometimes with an old controller, they don't reset back to the middle if you just let go of the stick. So sometimes your car will be steering to one side still because it isn't going back to the middle. In that case, you want to put this up a little bit. But if you have a brand new controller which just resets properly, which moves back to the middle, just put it down to 0 or 1. It doesn't really make too much difference. Just a very, very low number, and that should be fine. Now for acceleration, this is a little bit different. On the outside, as I said, just put it to 100, but for the inside, now this is down to kind of personal preference really. I like just to have the sensitivity there. So actually I did have 1, but I'm going to put it to 0. So as soon as I put down any movement on the trigger, it will start accelerating. Now the throttle is actually fairly sensitive in this game, so if you want to reduce kind of the sensitivity of the throttle, what you can do is put that up a little bit. So if, let's say I put that up to 20 again. If I move the right trigger, so the right trigger is what I use to accelerate, if I press it down just 10%, nothing will happen. The car won't accelerate because that's a dead zone. There's nothing going to happen within the first 20%. So what that does basically, it moves all of the trigger movement between 20 and 100. So it makes the car less sensitive, or sorry, it makes it less eager to accelerate, and that can kind of help. It depends how good you are with your throttle control. So what I would recommend though is simply just putting it to 0 and then just using the stick a bit less. If the car is accelerating too quickly and you're driving out to the outside of the track too quickly, just simply use less throttle. It's really as simple as that. So basically for acceleration, I'd recommend 0, but if you want a slightly less sensitivity because the car is too sensitive, just put it up a little bit, maybe about 10. So we're going to move then to deceleration, so braking. Now this one I think is the easiest one. I just put it 0 and 100. There's not much to it really. So this is really helpful for ABS off if you're learning that assist. You just want to really just have it as a base 100%, so just 0 to 100. I think that just keeps it really simple. And I don't think there's anything to be gained really by having it any higher, unless again like your left stick, if your trigger is some way broken, you might need to put it up a little bit, but if your controller works properly, just put it down to 0 and 100. So we're going to move quickly to clutch and handbrake. Now these aren't that important really to me because they are buttons. So clutch for me is A, handbrake for me is LB. So as a button, it's either on or off. There is no dead zone really. So you're basically pressing the button and it's just either off or it's on. It's not like a trigger or a stick where you can move it part to one side or part down. So clutch and handbrake just 0 and 100, and it doesn't really make any difference. So last on the list is vibration scale. Now this is really just personal preference. I mean, it all is really, but vibration scale is fairly useful, vibration, because on the exit of corners, for example, when you're accelerating, you can feel the throttle because the triggers do have vibration. So as you're accelerating, you can feel the car trying to respond, also on the brakes as well. So I'd recommend maybe turning it on to some extent rather than having it off. But I mean, again, as I said, personal preference. Maybe some people are put off by the vibration and it's just a distraction entirely, so you might want to turn it off. I put it to about 55, so you can still feel it, but it's not too strong. And that pretty much wraps it up. Not too much to say really, just very simple settings there, 0 to 100 on most of them, 55 for vibration. And yeah, hopefully this helps you guys. I know a lot of you are asking for this, so hopefully it does help. Let me know if it does. And obviously subscribe if you're new to the channel. Do hit the like button if you find this useful, and I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.